Way 31 Storm Tracker meteorologist Grace Anello with 31 Triple Doppler.
All right, it's time to get a check of that forecast. And just driving up here, there was so much fog on this mountain. It made it difficult to see.
Yeah, it really did. And, you know, a lot of times we'll get patchy fog up here where it'll be that way for, 80 feet and then it'll get better. I kept waiting and I was like, it's going to get better eventually. And then I parked the car and I was like, well, here we are.
Exactly.
The other morning I drove by this. It's not easy to pass our building, but usually you catch it pretty quick and you just back up.
Yeah.
I drove all the way to the end. And I was like, what is this light up here? And then all of a sudden I saw the sign, that it was a dead end. I was like, oh, I have totally passed everything.
Yeah, and that's just one of our threats of the day. We also have a severe weather risk a little bit later on. So things to discuss in both day parts, both this morning and this evening. There's that fog in Albertville. What you should be seeing is the Sand Mountain Park and Amphitheater, but you're not seeing very much of it. If you squint down to 2020, you can kind of see the road right here, but dense fog in Albertville. We actually have temperature and just weather condition in general sensors at each of our sky cameras. Almost none of them are actually reading right now because of how dense that fog is. The good news is our sensor is a little bit higher over in Muscle Shoals on the sky cam, 67 there, but you can see that dense fog in the back as well. Like we talked about with Chris and Demetria, you got to consider this before you head out the door this morning. Your commute's going to take a little longer. That dense fog advisory in place through 8 a.m. impacting all of us down to 1 mile of visibility in Huntsville, just a few feet of visibility across all of Coleman County, half-mile in Haleyville, down again to a few feet in Marion and Winston, impacting us even down to 7 miles of visibility in Fort Payne. That's threat number one of the day, but that's far from all she wrote. Our more significant threat is actually later this evening. Right now, 31 Triple Doppler looks good. 518 on your Thursday, cloud-free and lovely. That's good and bad news. It's good news because the sun will come up and it will burn off some of that fog. It's bad news because as the sun stays with us, it's going to provide more fuel in the atmosphere for later this afternoon and evening storms. That's why last night overnight, our severe weather risk was raised. Now we have been increased to a level 2 out of 5 risk. We're keeping a whole lot of cloud coverage with us as we head through the rest of later this afternoon. We could see some pockets of rain, but those will not be severe. Starting around your evening commute home, that's when we start to see that pocketed portion of potentially severe thunderstorms. As has been the case with the last several systems, not all of us are seeing the rain and storm coverage, but what does develop is bringing hail, it's bringing gusty wind, and it is bringing torrential downpours. That lasts through dinner time. That was 6 o'clock, what you just saw. Here we are at 8 p.m., sticking with us a little more widespread, and then it gets out of our way shortly before midnight. As we head through the rest of the day today, we're warming all the way up to 80 degrees. That will provide sufficient fuel for those storms to have hail associated with them a little bit later on today. So something to be thinking about. As we head towards Mother's Day weekend, great news for you. We are trending drier. Not dry, but drier. I'm talking about just isolated rain both Saturday and Mother's Day itself on Sunday. We will struggle to see the sunshine. We're talking mostly cloudy skies, but temperature-wise we'll be comfortable, sitting in the mid-70s. Going to be a bit overcast, a bit dreary, but at least we're talking about a little more dryness in the air. As we head Sunday night into Monday, tracking a whole lot of rain again, that leads us to what is currently looking like a full-on washout on Monday all day. I gave us a 60% rain chance because it's still many days away, but if this was tomorrow and the radar looked the way it would, that rain percentage on Monday would be 100. As we head towards the end of next work week, we're welcoming back some sunshine and some above average temperatures. We'll go from the 70s to start the week to the mid 80s by the time things wrap up.
All right. Well, we are looking forward to that dry stretch.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Almost
Slowly.
there. Exactly. Thank you so much, Grace.
Thank you.